All of you, thank you for coming tonight. Pastor Nate Kingsley is here to bring us the invocation, if you'd like to do that for us.
And just thank you all for serving. Appreciate it. Father, thank you. I am thankful for the place I get to live. Thank you for the governance that we have. Thank you for those who have stepped up to fill these positions. And would you bless them and give them wisdom and courage to do what is right and just and good. And may it be a benefit to our town. And we just thank you for what they're doing tonight. Give them grace to make decisions and handle things rightly. And we ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Nate. It's 7 o'clock, so I'll call our meeting to order and ask you all to join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Shirley, would you take roll call, please? Here.
Larry Lieber.
Here.
Mike Connell. Bob Porter.
Here.
Steve Melody. Here. Mal Guzzi.
Here.
Kristen Gable.
Here.
Mike is absent.
Looking now for approval of our agenda.
I move that the agenda be adopted as printed.
I second.
We have a motion from Larry, seconded by Kamal. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. And looking for approval of our minutes from the council meeting of January 16th.
I move we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes from the January 16th, 2025 regular meeting. I second.
We have a motion from Bob, seconded by Kamal. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. I don't think we have any pre-approved reports or presentations tonight, but we can move into public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to step forward for public comment tonight? Then we'll ask Shirley for any communications.
I just handed out a Greater Lanesburg Recyclers recycling news. Looks like they are going to have some dates where they're going to be recycling. The next one is Saturday, February 8th from 9 to 1. And then Tuesday, February 18th from 4 to 6. And Saturday, February 22nd from 9 to 1. And we do have this posted upstairs in the lobby. If anybody's interested.
So how does that work? Do we take anything that needs to be recycled somewhere?
Yes, you would have to take it there.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lanesburg.
It goes
Okay.
to Lanesburg.
That one, you drive through a building and they unload it for you, it's pretty slick.
That's really slick.
It's just you have to separate everything, so.
They don't charge, but they do accept donations if you're interested.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you. That's great.
Any other questions for Shirley? Okay. We'll move into our department head reports then. I think Megan is asking to go first.
You didn't hear your volunteer, did you?
Voluntold is my favorite. Winter taxes are due February 14th, so that's a week away. A 3% penalty will be applied to all balances that remain after that date. However, residents can still continue to pay taxes here at the city until February 28th. That goes for both winter and summer bills. After the 28th, everything delinquent will be transferred to the county. Payments will be made to the county treasurer once we settle for the year. I wanted to bring to your attention that we had a 3-year contract with our auditors, Clark, Schaefer, and Hackett. The audit that was just presented in December was the final year of that 3-year contract. So we have put out a request for proposals for auditing firms. We're asking for 1-, 2-, and 3-year bids. Bids are due February 21st at 3 p.m. Clark has been our auditor since 2019. And before that, we had Leighton and Richardson, which I believe is the same firm. I don't know if they merged, had a partnership change, but the lead accountant in 2019 was the same person from a different firm in 2018. So I don't know exactly what that relationship was, but there was a connection. So we'll see what happens. Clark did let me know that there would be a pretty hefty increase this year, that we've been below what they considered market rate for our annual fee, and it was almost a 50% increase was the verbal I was given. So we'd be going out for bid regardless, just because that's our policy. The 3-year contract is up, and it's over a $5,000 spend. So I'm really curious to see what we get in response. I reached out to all the auditing firms that neighboring communities use, because you can look up audits for other communities on the Department of Treasury's website. So I just blanket mailed the RFP to anyone doing business in the area. Finally, we did receive our disaster relief funds from the state of Michigan, the amount of $200,000 that posted to a bank account this week. And these funds will help offset the cost of our new DPW facility, which is also open for bids right now that are due February 28th at 3 p.m. And that's my report for now. I'll see you all again for 2 other agenda items.
Any questions for Megan, anyone?
Just one in the RFP, I know we talked about the audit, the results always being the last hour, if you will. Is there anything put in there in terms of potential penalty if not meeting the deadline?
Not a potential penalty. Clark did tell me that they will get back to their 45-day turnaround next year if they are awarded the contract. And that will be part of the conversations with whoever we're entertaining that we expect.
Yeah, well, they can promise you the moon, and when it comes time to deliver, no delivery. I don't know about moving forward if they are imposing that 50% increase, we need some sort of guarantee that it'll happen in the time frame
Sure.
that we discuss.
But
Otherwise,
we're not sure we're gonna hire them anyway.
yeah, but
Yeah,
still.
so whenever we get the contract point, we'll make sure that that's in there, that
Yeah.
it's in the contract for,
Ceci put out for bids too, and they're all coming very much higher than what we had.
Yeah, once we do have proposed contract with someone, we'll have our attorney review it, we'll review it, and make sure we have some sort of requirement and something that would penalize them if they're not turning it in at the proper time.
and they have been filed on time, but just, it leaves me kind of a little bit struggling to do some of my other reports that I have to do.
Yeah.
So that when we're waiting, getting down to the wire. So definitely something that will be discussed before we make any commitments.
Any other questions for Megan? Comments? Thanks, Megan. Kevin? DPW Superintendent Kevin Tyler, who's been busy.
Hello, everyone. As Megan mentioned, we do have the DPW building RFP out. Really interested to see what the numbers come back. We've had several inquiries from various companies about the plans for that, so I think we're on track for some decent offers on that project. Again, that was to replace some of the buildings that were damaged in the tornado. So, day-to-day operations, we've been staying busy with regular winter maintenance and snow operations. We ordered our 50-ton of salt, which was our allotment for the year. We had it reserved as a seasonal backup. The barn was started out full, so we're in good shape on that. I think we got enough to make it through the season. On the generator project, we did our first test last week. Things didn't go as planned. There wasn't enough gas pressure coming from the consumer side. I was told it's fixable, and I'm meeting with the install team tomorrow to work on fixing the issue. If they're able to bump the pressure up, it'll function without issue, and that project will be done after a couple of years worth of working on it, so it'd be nice to get that buttoned up. Moving on to water, we had 2 water main issues, one on Northeast Street, which was pretty straightforward. We had one on Way Oak Drive, started last Sunday, we fixed it on Monday. It was underneath a tree. We were able to dig it up and do the repair, but we damaged the tree so bad that it had to be removed. So there was additional cost on that that we have to, I'm still waiting for the bill on that. I don't know what, I had to call someone out to do the emergency tree removal, and we'll handle that as it comes in. On well 3 was reinstalled, it's back online. We have one small little repair to do with the conduit. It was different than the old pump motor, so that's back up and running. So that project was on budget and successful. Last time I was here in December, we talked about the sewer station project on Britton Road. It was completed in December, it's working smoothly, the project came together nicely. We did go over budget on that project, $8,000, due to unforeseen issues with the old equipment coming out. But we were still far under the competitor's bid of $32,000, so I feel like we're in good shape on that. And then I talked last time about the pipelining project on Green Street, which went smoothly, successful, and we completed that contract as well, so. Is there any questions or comments for me?
Thanks, Scott.
Let's go.
Shirley?
I do not have anything to report tonight.
All right. Our police chief, Kyle Box, is not here this evening. He's attending a conference. And I don't have anything to report tonight either, so we'll move into committee reports. Any committees have reports for us tonight? Anything from SESA?
Not tonight.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask Tim to come, the chairman to come soon,
Okay.
just to give us an update.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Moving into presentation and approval of the bills.
I move that we approve the bills as presented, excuse me, that payment be authorized.
I second. We have a motion from Bob, second from Kristen. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. We don't have any old business to address tonight, but we do need to go into a closed session to have a discussion with the city attorney. So I'm looking for a motion to move into closed session.
I move the city will go into closed session to discuss attorney-client communication.
Second.
We have a motion from Larry, a second from Bob. Shirley, would you take roll call, please?
Yep. Kristen Babel,
Here.
Larry Lambert,
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me, it's a
yes,
vote, 'cause
okay.
there you go.
Oh, sorry. Kamal Ghazi,
Yes.
Bob Porter,
Yes.
Mindy Gallavy.
Yes.
Did you see the time too?
So we will move into closed session. It's now 7:14. And our guests are welcome to wait here. We'll move into the room next door and see you shortly. It's now 7:50, and I'm looking for a motion to go back into open session.
I move that we move back into regular session.
I second.
We have a motion and need roll call vote for that.
Kristen Babel,
Here.
Larry Lam, say yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Larry Lambert,
Yes.
Kamal Ghazi.
Yes.
Bob Porter.
Yes.
Mindy Galvey.
Yes. So moving back into regular session, next on our agenda is the resolution regarding the Michigan class investment.
I'm gonna pass this off to Jeff Anderson. He's here to kind of give you guys
Okay.
a rundown on what they have to offer us.
Chuck, come right up here and,
No, Jeff.
I'm sorry, Jeff. Sorry. Go ahead, Jeff, tell us about this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks for having me tonight. As Megan said, my name is Jeff Anderson. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Michigan Class Local Government Investment Pool. I'll spend just a few minutes, if it's okay with you all, to just explain what the pool is and the history behind the pool, what the benefits are to our local units, and then open it up, turn it over to you to any questions you have. So, back in 1991, a group of treasurers in the state of Michigan got together under the Urban Cooperation Act of 1967, to come together, to work together, to invest their money with really 4 goals in mind. The first goal certainly was safety. So the thought was, if we come together, pool our money together, and diversify it, we can achieve safety versus all our eggs in one basket. Fast forward to today, Michigan Class is AAA rated by Standard & Poor's. It's the highest rating you can achieve. Since inception in 1991, no local unit of government in Michigan has lost 1 cent in the pool. So we'll explain a little bit how we achieve that diversity and safety in a minute. So safety certainly was their #1 goal. Number 2 was liquidity. So local governments, as you all know, from time to time have unexpected things come up. We don't necessarily know when we need every dollar of our cash. With Michigan Class, unlike a CD from a local bank, the money is liquid. So if you had $100,000 in Michigan Class and you needed $100,000 to pay a bill tomorrow, it's a simple transfer from a linked bank account from Michigan Class to your linked bank account. The money's there, you can spend it the next day. So daily liquidity. Huge advantage. I listened to today earlier when Megan talked about getting a check to work on your new building that was destroyed. It's a great place for Michigan Class, right? The money comes in, you put it in your Michigan Class account, it's there until you need to start drawing on it to spend, to build the project. But in the meantime, every day you're earning interest. So the third thing is that ideally, as we work together, we hope to achieve a greater interest rate than we can on our own. Today, Michigan Class has over 900 local units. There's $5.5 billion in the pool in Michigan. It's a great mix of city, village, township, school district, water sewer authority, fire authority, library, road commission. Any local unit of government as deemed by the state of Michigan is eligible to participate. Here's how the program works. By the way, today the yield is 4.49%, and we pay you every night. So you're able to achieve a compounding effect, whereas if you had a balance tonight, we would pay you interest. Tomorrow, assuming you kept that money in there, you'd get paid interest on the interest you earned today. So the money grows for you a little bit faster. Really the fourth pillar, and then I'll circle back, is convenience. So today, as you have I'm talking to Megan, you have a large CD portfolio. Well, those come due, right? And you have to decide at that point, when are we going to need that money? How long do we need to invest it? What rates are out there? Let's call 5 banks or 10 banks or whatever your process is. All that goes away for staff. It's simply, your money is in Michigan Class when you need it. It's a 30-second log on and transfer the money back to your bank account. Michigan Class is not a bank. for sure. You need your local bank, super important. We're simply a vehicle to diversify your money and hopefully earn more than you can earn at a local bank. So here's what happens. $1 comes into the Michigan Class Pool. That dollar buys you fractional shares of 600 different investments in this huge pool of $5.5 billion. So what we do is we diversify your money. So $1, you know, and you own those fractional shares of all U.S. Treasuries, U.S. agencies, top tier commercial paper, and some bank product that is insured or collateralized 100%. There is zero risk in bank risk in Michigan Class, which is a huge advantage. So there's no cost to join. You can have unlimited sub-accounts, so it's easy to track general fund, water fund, sewer fund, capital projects, anything that you and your staff want to set up to track separately. You'll get a monthly statement, shows how much those dollars earned that month. So very easy to book your interest at the end of the month. There's a 3-step process to join. Number 1 is we make sure your investment policy is compliant. You've taken care of that already. It is compliant with Michigan Class. Number 2 is to pass a resolution to join. That's all the resolution does, is it allows you and staff to participate. And then 3, we get a registration document that sets up users, creates passwords, links bank accounts to your Michigan Class account. In a nutshell, that's how the program works. Again, we've got cities your size that use it extensively for, you know, make a transfer once a week, maybe twice a week. We have some that have put fund balance dollars in there and just let it grow for a year, 2, 3, 5 years. It can be whatever works best for you all. With that, I'll turn it over and start dialogue and happy to answer any questions.
Council, if you have questions for Jeff, now's the time.
Yeah. What are the fees on the transfers? Are there fees on transferring?
Good question. So there are no fees
Okay.
on transfers, no minimum balances, there's no monthly fees, there's no transaction fees. Obviously, the next question is, how do you manage $5.5 billion for free?
Exactly.
Right? So it's a great point. I'll back up a step. Michigan Class, if you were to join Michigan Class, you become an owner, okay? So there's 900 owners, you become an owner. So there's no profit motive in the program. Michigan Class is governed by a board similar to you. They're elected by our participants, 13 people, a good mix of county treasurers, city treasurers, townships, and schools. That group has signed an agreement with a firm called Public Trust Advisors to manage the money. So they're the experts in credit, portfolio management, IT, marketing, customer service. We have a awesome customer service group, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So that agreement is for 12.5 basis points. So here's how it works. Today, Michigan Class is yielding, we'll say 4.5%, okay? So you go to our website, yield tab, 4.5%. We're gonna pay you that tonight. Every dollar that's in the pool tonight earns what's on the website, which is 4.5%. That $5.5 billion earned 5.625. So we take the 0.125 off the top, and then we pay the participants the rest of the dollars.
Now that makes more sense.
So and I think the natural question is, I need some context on that 12.5 basis points. And I was lucky enough, I was a finance director in Delta Township on the west side of Lansing for almost 20 years, and was lucky enough to be voted onto the Michigan Class Board during my time there. First meeting, I asked the question, the fee was 13 basis points there, it's come down a little bit, was, you know, give me some context. There's another pool in the state, similar to Michigan Class, used exclusively by school districts. The fee for that is 0.4, so it's 3 times the Michigan Class rate. So at the end of the day, if we're gonna pay our participants today 4.5, they're paying 4.2. So that, you know, does that make sense? So I think in that context, we're doing the best we can for our local units. I think we've got a great program. Again, 900 local units, and every day we're growing. We've got support from the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan came to us and said, we're not very good at sending out local community stabilization funds. The LCSA was created in 2014 with personal property tax reform. So they've contracted with us. They send those dollars to Michigan Class, and we distribute those to our locals, either directly to their Michigan Class account or via ACH. But I think it gives us some clout that the state of Michigan has partnered with us on that and really believes in what we're doing for local units of government. I haven't come across an auditor in the state of Michigan that doesn't recommend us. And really, when I found Michigan Class back in 2005 in Delta, I got there, I was in private business, and we had all of our money in our local bank. Every dollar that the township had, it was a lot of money. And that really gave me heartburn that all of our eggs were in that basket. I believed in the bank, it was a good bank, but I really was I needed to look for diversity to spread out our money. Michigan Class does that automatically, so.
So from what I'm hearing, it's pretty much like a big bank, right?
Think of it like a money market mutual fund. That's really what it is. Because there's no check writing, there's no bank staff or anything like that. It's just a fund of local unit dollars that we professionally manage and invest short term, obviously, all within Public Act 20, which tells us 10 things we can invest in the state of Michigan. Standard & Poor's reaffirms that we're in compliance on a weekly basis with Public Act 20, so that gives our locals some assurance that we're following the law.
How is the money insured? I mean, we hear on different funds, FDIC insured up to a certain, how is this money insured?
Good question. So banks, $250,000, right? So if however much you have in your local bank, you're insured up to $250,000. Michigan Class is an investment pool, so a portion of the pool is not insured. Anything in bank product is insured or collateralized, which means that the bank has to buy U.S. Treasuries to back that up, okay? So there's no FDIC insurance outside of the bank product of the pool. But, a majority of the pool, or a lot of the pools in U.S. Treasuries, known as the safest investment in the world. So the pool was started in '91. Every day we buy and sell investments. Not one has ever gone bad since 1991. So it's a pretty good track record. But let's just say it did. Let's say we have this investment in XYZ. It was $10 million, and they took off in the dark of night and they went away. What would happen to the city of Perry's money? Let's say you had $1 million in the pool, and we were paying 4.5%. Did you lose money? Really, you didn't. What happened that day is your yield went from 4.5 to maybe 4.42 for the day. Because again, you're such a small part of this huge pool, it really limits your risk. And that's one of the things that I loved about it, when I was sitting in a seat similar to you guys.
How long are the members, they're voted in as the board members, but what is their term?
4 years.
4-year
Yeah,
term.
rotating.
They can get reelected endlessly, or is it,
Yes.
you try to rotate people out?
Yes. So a couple requirements: you have to be you have to be working in local government for that entity, and you have to be the key contact. So we could never have more than one from an entity.
Okay.
We've got a good mix of. Actually, we've got unfortunately, the Washtenaw County Treasurer passed away in December, so we'll be appointing that. The board will, and then in November is the election, and there's usually 3 or 4 running every time.
Council, do we have other questions for Jeff?
Just a question, Jeff. You said there's no minimum investment to get started?
Correct. Larry, that's a good point, and I want to add on that. Another thing that I love for a smaller organization like you all is everybody earns the same. So Wayne County, over in Detroit, they have $200 million in Michigan Class. They're going to earn the same rate as XYZ Township that has $32,000 in the pool. Everybody earns the same rate. So that's a huge advantage, and almost like buying power, if you will, for our smaller organizations. And that's probably why we've seen our township population grow to almost 350, is because, they're smaller, some of them, and they're able to earn as much as the big boys, if you will, so.
any other discussion, questions? Thank you, Jeff, so much for coming.
Absolutely, and just keep in mind, passing a resolution doesn't commit you to anything other than the ability to open an account. And then over time, you all in management can decide how it works best for your organization. So thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So council, we do have the possibility available to us to pass a resolution tonight if you are so interested.
I move that we approve the following resolution. Whereas the Michigan Cooperative Liquid Asset Security System, Michigan Class, is compliant with Public Act 20, and whereas the Michigan Class Board of Trustees oversees the pool and directs the pool administrator, public trust advisors to emphasize safety, liquidity, and convenience while providing diversification of investments and the advantage of a competitive return. And whereas Michigan Class investments are fully compliant with all appropriate Michigan investment laws, and whereas Michigan Class has over 800 funded participants ranging from very large to very small with nearly $5.4 billion in shares outstanding. And whereas this investment has no restrictions regarding withdrawals or contributions, affording the city the opportunity to use Michigan Class as it best suits our individual needs. Now therefore it be hereby resolved that the city of Perry approves the Michigan Class investment pool as an authorized investment institution, authorizes the treasurer to complete the necessary paperwork to enroll in the pool, and approves the addition of Michigan Class to the investment policy.
I second.
We have a motion from Larry, seconded by Bob. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those who are opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you, and thank you, Jeff, for coming. Next on our agenda is the mayor's reappointment to the planning commission, and that is a reappointment of Forrest Whitson. He has been serving for the last couple of years. Just wasn't sure if he was going to be able to devote the time necessary. His term expired in January, but he did call me last week and indicated that he is willing to continue to serve. So I would like to reappoint him to a new term that will expire in 3 years, so 2028. So I'm looking for council approval for that reappointment.
I move that we approve the mayor's appointment of Forrest Whitson to the Planning Commission for the term expiring January 2028.
Second.
We have a motion from Kristen, seconded by Larry. All those in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Just as an aside, expecting approval, he was voted in as the vice chair of the planning commission this past
Oh,
Monday.
he was, wonderful. Okay, very good. And now we're back to treasurer's report. Megan, if you would.
Hello. So in front of you, in your packets, you have my second quarter budget comparison. These numbers are as of December 31st, 2024. I'll just start out with a little update, kind of rolls into the conversation we just had with Jeff. An interest revenue update. We had originally budgeted $26,000 in interest revenue. That was a very safe projection when we made the budget. Year to date, as of December 31st, we've recognized $34,966 in revenue. Move on a little bit lower. You'll see a summary of all the CDs that the city currently has, many of which are maturing in February. So we have 1.3 million in CDs, and you'll see the rates and how long those terms were. I believe that's going to earn us another $30,000 in interest by the end of the month. I reached out to Huntington, all these CDs are at Huntington currently. I reached out to see what their renewal rates are right now, and you'll see they've dropped significantly since the last time I set up some CDs. So hearing Jeff's interest rate was encouraging to see what we can do with some of our funds. I have highlighted the line items in the budget that I am recommending adjustments for, just to kind of draw your attention to it. We have received 81% of our annual revenue to date, a large part due to tax revenue. We have closed out the Department of Justice grant that paid for the keyless entry security system for City Hall, as well as the generator. So we've received and paid out all of those expenses. The keyless entry security upgrade was $43,500. The generator was $88,500. All of that, except for $2,000, was covered by the grant. So it only cost $2,000 from the general fund to make those improvements here at City Hall. With the change in IT services to BlackRock a couple months back, that has significantly increased our annual IT cost, which means that we need to start contributing more to the office equipment fund. There's a separate fund that all departments, heads, and funds contribute to offset the cost of hardware, software, and support. So the proposed amendment would add an additional $10,000 this year to the office equipment fund. The auditors do look at the office equipment fund as general funds. When they do the annual audit, they roll them up. And in the big picture, these are general funds. Some communities would choose to give rent to general fund and pay these expenses out of general fund. The city at some point in history set it up this way, probably as a way to track how much is truly all this costing us, and kind of keep it segregated so we know how much IT expenses are costing. You will see a couple lines throughout the comparison that show negative activity. These are due to items that were expenses for prior to June 30th, but they weren't paid until the new year. So when we did the year end, we did some entries to make sure those expenses were rolled back to the prior budget. We've had 4 new home permits connecting to city services. This reflects on the revenue side for both sewer and water. The water fund has well exceeded its annual budget for the year for connection revenue. There was also a home that was on a, prior to connecting to city services, was on a private well. Per the charter, within the city limits, if you're on a private well or septic and they fail, you are required to connect to city services that are available at the curb. I believe all other expenses are on track for sewer and water to date. We have had to make some unplanned purchases from the City Hall Fund. Revenue from this fund is generated by hall rentals, both upstairs on the 3rd floor and down here in council chambers. We had to replace the 3rd floor oven, and the toilets on all 3 floors also need to be replaced, and repairs are numerous and they probably outlived their lifespan. One of them has already been replaced in the squad room, so my requested budget amendment would allow us to replace 3 or 4 more this budget cycle, and then we'll budget again in the new year to replace the remainder. The revenue in City Hall Fund is healthy annually. I believe our budget was $4,500. We've exceeded that for hall rentals. Hall rental every weekend, I think we have someone using upstairs, and that can be $75 to $250 depending on the size of the party. So increasing the expenses in that department is no impact to fund balance. I will still have a positive year end there. DPW has been accumulating funds for numerous years now to purchase the vac truck that was, I think it was delivered in November, but certainly paid for in December. We were able to make a lump sum payment of $350,854. And we were able to do this. When we ordered the truck, we thought we'd be able to pay a 50% payment, and then we were going to take a loan from one of our own funds to pay it rather than going out for a commercial loan. But because of the time frame of it, we were able to just pay it all upfront out of the motor pool fund. The lift truck was sold at auction, and its proceeds of $10,480 were added back to the motor pool fund. As I mentioned a little bit ago, that the change in IT providers from VC3 to BlackRock requires all of our funds to contribute more annually to the office equipment fund. The proposed amendments are going to add an additional $10,000 to offset those expenses. And in addition to increasing the departments that are already adding to the equipment fund, I'm also proposing that the building inspector department, the legislative and executive departments also start contributing to that fund, as they're all users of computer services. And it just helps. It's still all general fund money. So whether the treasurer department has to increase $2,000 or the other departments one. It just, I think it looks more clean that we're showing all are contributing. So, the federal grant that we received from the Department of Justice, those expenses, we had originally planned for the security system upgrade to be completed prior to June 30th. So we did not budget for the full 130 expense this year. So we need to make an amendment. We planned to pay it last year, we didn't. So now we're paying it all this year, so the budget needs to be amended to show that we're spending out the 130 instead of just 86. But we also received 130 instead of just 86, so it's a wash. But the amendment needs to be made because the budget has to be not in an unplanned deficit at year end. Are there any specific questions about anything else you see within the pages of the budget? Halfway through the year, I would say almost all of, you can see the far column percent of budget used. They're pretty all steadily at 50% halfway through the year, which I like to see.
Yeah. Nice.
Questions?
You know, I was gonna ask that question. $400 per one toilet?
They're like,
The toilet bowl itself is only about 100, right around $100, but the flush valves, the commercial, they're flow rated, they have a vacuum breaker in there, so they're safe to operate. Those, that's where it's costly, they're nice chrome finish. So that's like double the toilet seat.
I think they're really like $375, but I rounded up.
No, that's okay. I was like, I'm shocked.
If I could go to Home Depot and get $100 toilets, I would do it all day long, but in a commercial application with ADA compliance, we have to have specific toilets for public use, so.
Higher goal.
Thank you, Kevin.
Oval elongated.
Any other questions for Megan? Looking for a motion then to approve the second quarter budget amendments.
I move that we approve the second quarter budget amendments as presented by the treasurer's second quarter budget amendments.
Second.
We have a motion from Mindy, seconded by Larry. All those in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Would you indicate that?
She's absent.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do this resolution, poverty exemption guidelines, yearly, and it's time to do that. So if there's questions about that, feel free to ask. Otherwise, when you're ready, we need that resolution.
I move that we approve the following resolution. Whereas the adoption of guidelines for poverty exemptions is required by the city council, and whereas the principal residence of persons who the assessor and board of review determines by reason of poverty to be unable to contribute to the public charge is eligible for exemption in whole or in part from taxation under Public Act 390 of 1994, MCL 211.7U, and whereas pursuant to PA 390 of 1994, that the City of Parrish, Shiawassee County adopts the following guidelines for the Board of Review to implement. The guidelines shall include but not be limited to specific income and asset levels of the claimant and all persons residing in the household, including any property tax returns filed in the current or immediately preceding year. To be eligible, a person shall do the following on an annual basis. 1, be an owner and occupy a principal residence, the property for which an exemption is requested. 2, file a claim with the assessor or board of review accompanied by federal and state income tax returns for all persons residing in the principal residence, including any property tax credit returns filed in the immediately preceding year or in the current year, or a signed state tax commission form 4988 poverty exemption affidavit. 3, file a claim reporting that the combined assets of all persons do not exceed current guidelines, Assets include but are not limited to real estate other than the principal residence, personal property, motor vehicles, recreational vehicles and equipment, certificates of deposit, savings accounts, checking accounts, stocks, bonds, life insurance, retirement funds, etc. Point 4, produce a valid driver's license or other form of identification if requested. Point 5, produce, if requested, a deed, land contract, or other evidence of ownership of the property for which an exemption is requested. 6, meet the federal poverty income guidelines as defined and determined annually by the United States Department of Health and Human Services or alternative guidelines adopted by the governing body, providing the alternative guidelines do not provide eligibility requirements less than the federal guidelines. 7, the application for an exemption shall be filed after January 1st, but 1 day prior to the last day of the December Board of Review. The filing of this claim constitutes an appearance before the Board of Review for the purpose of preserving the right to appeal to the Michigan Tax Tribunal. The following are the 2025 Federal Poverty Income Guidelines, which are updated annually by the United States Department of Health and Human Services. The annual allowable income includes income on all persons residing in the principal residence. Table federal poverty guidelines used in the determination of poverty exemptions. Family Unit 1, 2024 poverty guidelines, $15,060. 2 in the unit, $20,440. 3 in the unit, $25,820. 4 in the unit, $31,200. 5 in the unit, $36,580. 6 in the unit, $41,960. 7 in the unit, $47,340. 8 in the unit, $52,720. For each additional person, $5,380. Now therefore be it hereby resolved that the assessor and Board of Review shall follow the above stated policy and federal guidelines in granting and or denying an exemption unless the Board of Review determines there are substantial and compelling reasons why there should be such a deviation from the policy and federal guidelines as these reasons are communicated in writing to the claimant. Be it further resolved, if asset levels exceed the items or amounts below, the individual property owner shall not be eligible for the property tax poverty exemption. 1, the homestead being claimed and property used in connection with the use and the occupancy of the homestead. 2, all assets of a cumulative dollar value of $25,000.
Second.
We have a motion from Larry, seconded by Mindy. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Larry, for reading that very long thing. Moving on then in new business to number 6, corrosion control treatment quote, DPW. Kevin, you're up.
So I'm here to talk about implementing corrosion control plan to our drinking water system based on the action level exceedance that Eagle, the state of Michigan, said that we were over based on samples that were taken last summer during our regular sample period. So this plan would be for installing corrosion control equipment in the water treatment plant, which would put phosphate into the water, which helps coat all of the pipes and everything that the water makes contact with, so that the water doesn't work on the metal anymore and you get less contaminants at the tap. So I worked with Russ on a plan for treatment. If the city council chooses to go ahead with this plan, then we will contact Eagle for permitting to move ahead. And once we are approved for permitting, then we will look at purchasing equipment and supplies. The email that I copied here in your packet talks about dosage and cost broken down for the cost of the equipment and what we're estimating we would run chemical dosages at and the overall cost there. I've also included the safety data sheet if anyone had any questions about the product itself. Everything's listed on the safety data sheet about hazards and everything involved with that, so.
This is for the copper level, correct?
Correct. The action level exceedance for copper.
And then, is this installed, or the DPW installing it?
They will help us implement. They will come do the.
Set up
work with
the
us
equipment.
To do the installation. We'll kind of run a little bit of a pilot test to make sure we won't put it directly into the system at first. We'll pump it off to the side, but it'll run when the pumps run, and we'll gauge it and figure out what we need to be running
To
at.
calibrate it, basically.
Yeah, so they'll help us get everything set up and ready to roll. And then, when everything's set, then we plug it into the system and we get less copper at the tap.
You said there's an Eagle approval that's got to go on then after, is there a step before we get too far then?
Yes, they will review everything that we bring to them. They will either approve or deny or make recommendations on dosages, equipment, stuff like that. Water Solutions is who provides us our chlorine chemicals. They've done this with several communities who had action level exceedances. They're real familiar with this because they're doing other communities right now. So we were not mandated to do this. I'm looking to voluntarily do this preemptively. If we have to wait for the state to tell us to do it, then we will have specific guidelines and timelines that we will have to follow, and we'll be in a rush to do it. And I would rather do it preemptively, give our residents the best water possible, solve our corrosion problem, and get ahead of it, as opposed to being told we have to do it.
Kevin, do you know how much this is going to add to each household's water bill?
We won't have to change rates or increase rates. We build in allowances for stuff like this. I talked to Megan about water rates today, actually.
All right.
And then we should have enough. We would budget for it, so you can see that reflected in the budget amounts. But we wouldn't have to raise rates based on this.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions for Kevin?
Is there any other big project that you have that needs this money more than the water corrosion? I think that's a good allocation for it, but is there anything that you have that has a higher level that you really need other than this project?
Chances are, so we have to do 2 more rounds of sample testing in 25. So we have until June to do the first round, and then the second round will start from June to December. And if either one of those has copper levels in the samples over the 90th percentile, then we will have to implement this anyway. The cost of this is relatively low, and it's good insurance for us. There's always stuff in water that we could spend money on, but I feel like this is pretty valuable to give people the best quality of water that we can do for the least amount of physical dollars spent. So the only other thing that we could do to potentially curb that risk is either we find new source water, which is expensive, or we start changing water main, which is expensive. Anything that we can do to boost water quality is expensive. Adding chemicals is relatively the most cost-effective way to go. I know we don't like more stuff in our water, but this is good stuff, so.
Good stuff.
I move that we approve the corrosion control quote from Water Solutions Unlimited in the amount of $1,745 for a drum, scale, and pump. The ortho-poly blend will be an ongoing purchase based on the system's needs.
Second.
We have a motion from Bob, seconded by Larry. All those in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Kevin, but don't leave. Tell us about the letter of intent for the plow truck accessory parts.
So we have already signed a letter of intent, and the Freightliner chassis, the SD 108, our order has been put in for that. This would be the next step to get all the parts and supplies to put on the truck to turn it into a plow truck. So I'm asking for a letter of intent to basically give them purchasing power to start collecting the equipment needed to build out the truck. Once they've purchased all the equipment and have it on site, it's gonna take 14 to 16 months for them to build. So this letter of intent would allow them to start ordering things. We don't pay for it until we receive the truck completely finished and in good working order. So after the truck is built, we turn it over to truck and trailer. It's gonna take 14 to 16 months for them to build it. So we would put this money into the budget, and then we'll probably have to carry it over until the following budget. This is similar to what we did with the Vector truck purchase. And we don't look at changing any of the figures in the coming budget for the motor pool. So we're still gonna be building that fund to tackle some of these bigger purchases that we're needing. This truck would be replacing a truck that is a 1999. It's past its usefulness. It's pretty scary. It's got some rust holes, and it's past its usefulness, like I said. So it's time for this truck to go, and we need to look toward a new plan for keeping our streets clear. So the cost of the
153,
is 150.
610.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did put that on there, I apologize.
Did they give you a production run date for the truck?
For the chassis?
Yeah.
Yeah, they told me it was gonna be built in the second quarter of '25.
Okay, so sometime after May, it'll start going in sometime in that. So we won't receive that until October-ish, and then it'll go to there, so you're looking at, this expenditure really won't be taken out until the end of '26 or the beginning of '27, really.
Okay. So we're confident that the fund will be able to support this. If we're close and Megan doesn't like the numbers, we talked about doing a loan from another fund, the back truck, and we would look at doing the same thing for the
Right.
plow truck.
It's not gonna get any cheaper.
And that's the other thing too, with this quote, it locks us into this price.
Right.
So nothing will change from this price. Things are only getting more expensive. And our goal in purchasing the truck straight after purchasing the other truck was to get ahead of the emissions standards and keep the cost a little bit lower for the city, so.
So Shirley, you said that the amount, that we approved the intent to purchase accessory parts in the amount of $153,610.
Yes.
Whoever reads this motion, if you do, you need to plug that in there.
I move that we approve the intent to purchase accessory parts from Truck and Trailer Specialties and equipment, the new 2026 Freightliner plow truck in the amount of $153,610. Authorize the city clerk to draft and send the letter.
Second.
We have a motion from Bob, seconded by Larry. All those in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, nay. Motion passes.
For some of the newer council members, just to kind of put you at ease, Truck and Trailer Specialties is involved in the My Deal program. So the state of Michigan, they find vendors that offer locked-in prices for state contracts. They're not allowed to exceed those prices based on their contract terms from the state of Michigan. We are a part of the My Deal program, so we're able to use their purchasing power for equipment, vehicles, trucks, services, and huge list of items that we qualify for. And truck and trailer specialties falls into that category. So everything that they provide for us is the lowest that we could get in the state of Michigan. So, I know it's a lot of money, but that's the cost of doing business, to plow streets and maintain roads, so I appreciate everything.
Okay, talk to us about the Vector truck accessories.
So the new vac truck that we purchased, we missed a line item when the truck was ordered. It was supposed to have a decanter pump that pumps off clean water. If you're vacuuming like a water main break and you've got an excess amount of water, not a lot of debris, they can put a pump inside that pumps off the water and keeps you moving debris without having to stop what you're doing, dump the truck and let your hole fill back up with water. So it moves it off the truck so that we can drain it effectively and continue on. It increases the capacity of the truck so that you don't have to dump as often. And it was overlooked in the proposal. They didn't put it in there and I didn't catch it. So this would be an add-on part to make up that mistake. This was the first truck piece of equipment that I had purchased with the city. I'm new to this role. I've been here 2.5 years, but at the time it was still pretty fresh for me. We're gonna fine tooth the plow truck a bit. We've gone over it twice already and I'm gonna do it again. So this would just make that truck more effective for doing hydro excavation and help us out tremendously with offloading on the job site.
Did you talk to them about that you're new and you missed it, to help us out a little bit on this, or is this the best they can do?
I brought this number, this was initially what they gave me, they were supposed to rework it and get back to me, so I was gonna ask for not to exceed this, but it may not be this much. Because
Okay.
this came in a little higher than I expected.
Okay,
So I'm working with them, they just didn't have enough time to get it back to me before, and I wanna get this approved. If we get this truck figured out, while we still have the old truck, then we can have one in service while the
and
work's
still,
being done.
you won't be down in case we have an emergency or something?
Correct. So we've done maintenance work to the old truck and got it in good working order again now that we had the time and another truck to rely on. So that's in good working order now, and then once we get this pump installed in the new truck, we'll be able to get rid of the old truck, put it up for auction. So that'll be money coming back into the equipment fund.
If you got $10,000 for that old lift truck, you probably should be able to at least get it to cover this, for the old vac truck.
That old vac truck is pretty useful still. I'm pretty
Right.
sure it's gonna go for a little bit more than that.
You know my point, that's all.
Yes, yes.
So should we have the motion, if it's made, indicate that the additional parks quote from JDC in an amount not to exceed 11,000 instead of in the amount of just that?
Right, I was
Okay.
gonna ask for not to exceed.
All right.
So then if it's less,
Mhm.
we would just report that.
Any other questions for Kevin about this?
The Vector truck arrived with certain parts that the DPW asked to have equipment missing. JDC has provided a quote to add what was missing to the Vector truck. I move that we approve the additional parts quote from JDC in the amount not to exceed $11,284.72. Authorize Kevin Tyler to move forward.
Second.
We have a motion by Larry, second by Kamal. All those in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Also, we had some, our sewer project came in, the lift station came in under budget. So, and we had extra funds in the water fund, so we were gonna split the cost of that purchase between water and sewer, because that's primarily what that would be used for. So we don't have to get the equipment fund with that big purchase again right away. So, I talked that over with Megan, and we were gonna fund it that way so that it won't be a big hit again to the equipment fund, so.
Good.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Any other business that may come before council at this time? Any council discussion or observations from council? Public comment?
Would you like me to give a little presentation on county operations?
Yeah, we could have done that way up in pre-approved reports or presentations, but if you'd like to do that now, that would be fine, Matthew. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I've been in county office for commissioner a very short time. Not completely understanding everything that happens in our county level. Last month, we approved $6.5 million in bills to cover end of December through the middle part of January. I'm sure we'll be paying more bills, but that is what I've been told is the highest payout of the year because it's the start of the year. We approved purchase of 3 new police vehicles for the sheriff's department. A lot of high mileage vehicles still left. One will be out of the general fund, another will be out of the sheriff's department fund, and another out of grants. They haven't purchased them yet, but they're just getting all the finances around. Last month, we also approved a research attorney for the court system. So your city attorney can work with them instead of having to go through the Justice Department. Before I came into it, the VA, we approved 3 new purchases of vehicles. I don't completely understand that either because the ones that we have currently are 5 years or newer. And the one in specific has a lift for getting a handicapped person into. And when they get the new vehicles, they won't have that capability to transport somebody in a wheelchair. That was their decision before I came on. What else of importance? Oh, the road commission. We're going to see repairs done to Lansing Road. It's not in the city limits, but we're going to be utilizing Lansing Road between here and Durand over the next few years in segments like 2.5 miles at a time. It's getting kind of rough. They trimmed off all the bumps on Lansing Road this past year and on 52 northbound. Part of maintenance for the roads. They're going to do a lot of back country roads as well. Church Road, I think was mentioned, Beard Road, because you go down that dip past Thornapple and it's starting to shift a bit. Do you have any questions?
Council, any questions for Mr. Shepherd?
I'll keep giving reports.
Yes, thank you, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else for public comment? Oh, Dennis wanted to let us know he's going to be a grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
Council, any agenda items for our next meeting, which would be February 20th, that you'd like to give Shirley if you know now? If not, you can always call her or let us know somehow. Anything else from council? If not, 8:45, this meeting is adjourned.